The National Institute of American Doll Artists present NIADA, The Early Years. This program is created by Diana Lence Crosby, Donald Crosby, and Deborah Fidelia Crosby Bray. Helen Bullard was born in Elgin, Illinois in 1903. She became a journalist, an artist-sculptor of wood, and founder of the National Institute of American Doll Artists in 1962. At the 1954 United Federation of Doll Club Convention in Miami Beach, Florida, Helen is shown at the far left. Her Alice in Wonderland dolls are of hand-carved wood. Helen found that there was very little recognition for American original doll artists. Seated on the lawn are future NIADA artists Christine Gorman and Diana Crosby. The year was 1962, and at the Buffalo, New York UFDC convention, Helen met with Gertrude Florian, Maggie Head, and Fawn Zeller to organize NIADA. These, plus 7 charter members, had a common goal: the recognition of original handmade dolls. Gertrude Florian was born in Brookfield, Missouri, and educated at the Kansas City School of Fine Art. She was making dolls in 1941 and was a co-founder of NIADA. Gertrude is shown here with the mother and child in a rocking chair, and the widow Howland, a portrait of Gertrude's grandmother. By perfecting her own special ceramic formula, she was able to produce a warm and soft skin tone in her dolls. Gertrude was able to sculpt very detailed work. The mother and child in a rocking chair glows with the loving relationship between a mother and her child. This piece was one of Gertrude Florian's favorite. She also made many historical figures, and some are in the Children's Museum of the Detroit Public Schools. Maggie Head, the second co-founder, was born in Nashville, Tennessee. She had a long and dramatic career in doll making. The upper picture is the Negro Mammy, Caledonia, and below is the Gypsy mother and baby. Maggie's dolls were made in low-fire clay and porcelain. She created Miss Ohio, the UFDC souvenir doll head for the 1964 Cincinnati Convention. Fawn Zeller, the third co-founder, was born in Alton, Illinois. She's shown on the cover of her book with a Victorian child doll named Holly. This book chronicles her amazing amount of work and her exquisite miniature portraits in porcelain. Fawn's 1962 fashion doll, Angela, has an applied porcelain hairdo. She describes the special process called Patty Sir Patty in her book. Fawn created the souvenir dolls for 3 UFDC conventions: Miss Kentucky, 1956, the Miami Miss, 1961, and Jeanette for New Orleans in 1991. In Angela, Fawn captures the classic charm of her dolls with beautiful coloring and fine texture of the porcelain. NIADA's founder, Helen Bullard, had a vision for NIADA. She never questioned that it would grow. She loved creating dolls. Originally, the NIADA conference and the show and sale were held the day before UFDC opened. The conference was conveniently located at the same hotel. All the early artists and patrons were members of the UFDC club. They would stay on for the UFDC convention. Many NIADA artists and patrons would give doll artist-related programs, doll-making seminars, and help with the judging of the classes in the artist doll competitive exhibits at UFDC. Helen Bullard's autobiography, My People in the Wood, tells an interesting story of her life and wood-carving career. The dolls pictured on the cover of the book show 3 generations of a middle-class family in their Sunday go-to-meeting clothes. On the other side of the spectrum, Helen's Modern Bride shows a dramatic side of Helen's work. By 1965, Helen Bullard had received enough information from the artist to write the book The American Doll Artist. Louise Cochran's fine interpretation of an American child appears on the cover. Louise Cochran became the first of the 7 charter members and the second president of NIADA. She started serious doll making in 1936 with a contract with F&B Doll Company. These dolls were called America's Children. Louise is shown in her studio creating her dolls. These 6 basic heads are from her Look-alike series. In 1952, the Grown-up series was added. This Christmas scene shows several dolls in this series. This lifelike and handsome 16-year-old in Louise's Grown-up series is Peter Poinsett. He is 16 inches tall. The 3 girls and 2 boys in this series were created at the ages of 5, 7, 11, 16, and 20 years of age. 50 examples of each doll were made. Louise's fine coloring on the special latex face is pastel. It gives the feeling of the title of her book, As If They Could Speak. Haley Blakely, a charter member, was born in San Francisco. A graduate of the California Art School, she worked as a commercial artist and dress designer. Haley is shown here in her studio. The doll on the right is Haley's Mary, Queen of Scots. This doll is created in Haley's favorite medium, a high-fire clay. She is best known for her one-of-a-kind original Madonna and Child doll. These were shown each year at the Charles G. Bowers Museum in Santa Ana, California at Christmas time. Charter member Muriel Bruyere was an artist who worked in the easy-to-come-by medium of plaster of Paris. Muriel gave her dolls a special and unique charm. The top picture is a portrait of Janet Joel, author of several antique doll books. Below is a portrait of Muriel as a child. Muriel Bruyere's doll, Eloise of the Plaza Hotel in New York City, captures the little girl's impish character. Dorothy Wendell Heiser, the 4th charter member, left conventional fine arts to create dolls. Her dolls are created from cloth and fine fabric and many, many beads. This picture shows Dorothy sewing. Below is the Moyen Age Countess. The beadwork on her dolls, especially the Queen's, is a wonder to behold. Dorothy would sew thousands of tiny, beautiful colored beads into their gowns. The Moyen Age Countess is about 9 inches tall. The beautifully set head and graceful neck are Heiser trademarks. Helen received such wonderful material from Dorothy about her dolls that she was able to write the book Dorothy Heiser, the Artist and Her Dolls in 1972. Queen Victoria and Prince Albert are dancing on the cover of the book. The Madonna and Child is 9 inches tall and was created in 1941. The idea was taken from a 15th century Italian painting. Dorothy's outstanding beadwork adds amazing interest to her dolls. This portrait of Marie Antoinette, Queen of France, was inspired by a painting by Lebrun. Dorothy Heiser specialized in creating portraits of European royalty. A series of queens, created between 1933 and 1940, were presented to the Smithsonian by her patron, Mrs. F. B. Noyes. The dolls are kept in acid-free boxes to keep them from aging. Louis Sorensen was a gentleman who worked in California creating dolls for the commercial trade. He's shown here with his sculpture of Mona Lisa. The small head at the top is of Uncle Sam. Louis was NIADA's 5th charter member. In 1946, he made many 11-inch Follies fashion dolls in all bisque. In 1950, Louis Sorensen began creating dolls in wax. Dolls, like his 14-inch Santa Claus, were very popular. No two were alike. He went on to create life-size wax portraits of famous people, especially for wax museums, and for Ripley's Believe It or Not museums. Martha Thompson was the 6th charter member, and a member of the Boston Doll Study Club. She created very true-to-life portrait dolls in porcelain. The doll at the top right is of her husband, Murray, as a boy. At the lower right are Betsy and little brother. At the right are a peddler and girl of the 19th century. Martha's portrait of Jenny Lind is created with a porcelain head, arms, and legs on a cloth body. She is 20 inches tall. Jenny Lind was called the Swedish Nightingale. She sang on a tour of the United States from 1850 to 1852, and the tour was sponsored by P.T. Barnum of circus fame. Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, Prince Charles, and Princess Anne were some of the dolls Martha created of the royal family. They were created at the time of Queen Elizabeth II's coronation in 1953. In 1956, Martha Thompson introduced President and Mrs. Eisenhower. Mamie Eisenhower is shown here in a gown of blue taffeta. This gown was worn at their second inaugural ball. Do you think he's about to ask her to dance? Donald Crosby's choice of Martha Thompson's dolls is Betsy. She was created in 1953 as a fundraiser for her sister's Episcopal Church in Sheffield, Alabama. Betsy and little brother were dressed by the ladies of the church. They netted $15,000 by 1955. This money was used for new carpet and seat cushions. Ellery Thorpe was the 7th and last charter member. She was born in Hollywood, when it was a small, dusty place. She attended Los Angeles School of Art. She loved children. Ellery is shown with a portrait doll of a 4-year-old child. Ellery Thorpe's Michael is 13 inches tall. He has a porcelain head, arms, and legs on a cloth body. He has a light blonde mohair wig that surrounds his face, and he has a little tear. Helen invited Ruth Williams, better known as Darcy, to become a member. Darcy is shown here with several of her hand-carved wooden dolls. In 1954, her drawing of Unity became the UFDC emblem. She became editor of Doll News in 1955. Darcy passed away suddenly in 1957. Darcy's all-wooden hand-carved little doll, Girl with Red Tassels on her hat, is a moving example of her work. Sharon Johnson of Germantown, Ohio, was elected into NIADA in 1967. To become a member, a candidate was sponsored by a charter member and then voted on by the membership. Shown here with Sharon is her mother, Gladys Pergram. Gladys is a NIADA patron. The two women have had a wonderful doll-creating partnership for many years. Sharon's doll Elizabeth has a porcelain head, arms, and legs on a cloth body. The pretty costume features a high waistline. This doll was the surprise souvenir at the NIADA banquet in 1979 in New York City. Pat Robinson, a 1967 member, works in porcelain. Porcelain was becoming a very popular medium by now. Pat's all-bisque doll is called Getsya. One of these dolls was given as a helper at the 1970 Detroit UFDC convention. Getsya has an adorable tear on her cheek. By 1968, NIADA increased its membership and 12 new artists became members. This early brochure from 1968 gives the names of the charter members and 12 artists. Helen wrote her next book, The American Doll Artist, Volume 2, printed in 1975. On the cover is Fern Deutsch's Little Boy Going Fishing. Her dolls are created from glove leather. They have a wire armature body. This gives her dolls a very animated look. This book complements the first and gives the information on the next artist up to 1975. Astrid Campbell of Upper Saddle River, New Jersey, became a member in 1968. She created superior porcelain dolls. Astrid designed a more modern logo or trademark for NIADA in 1970. Many like her Alice in Wonderland, were fully jointed bisque dolls, and all were copyrighted. Astrid was NIADA's third president from 1971 to 1973. During her presidency, she perfected the requirements of the Standards Committee for accepting original doll artists into NIADA membership. Diana Lence Crosby was born in Medford, Massachusetts, and belongs to the Boston Doll Study Club and the Atlanta Doll Club. She became a 1968 member and creates dolls in porcelain using a lace draping technique. Diana's dolls have porcelain heads, arms, and legs. The cloth bodies are dressed in the appropriate costumes. This lady doll is called Ye Boston Maid and was the souvenir doll head for the 1967 UFDC Boston Convention. A prospective NIADA member was sponsored by a NIADA artist and was required to submit 4 dolls to be voted on by the membership. Diana was sponsored by Deweese Cochran and submitted her Pilgrim family to be voted on. She was elected into NIADA with a unanimous vote at the NIADA conference in Seattle, Washington in 1968. Following the souvenir, Ye Boston Maid, Diana created Mademoiselle Detroit. This porcelain doll head was created to represent unity, the UFDC emblem. This banquet souvenir was given in 1970 at the Detroit Convention of UFDC. Diana's Little Miss Sunshine was UFDC's 25th anniversary souvenir at the Miami Convention in 1973. She has a porcelain head, arms, and legs. She represents a little girl of about 6 years old, ready to play in the Florida sunshine. Diana Lence Crosby created a series of fashion dolls called the Belles of Fashion. This playful couple of the 19th century is named Serendipity in the Park, with the use of porcelain and a lace draping technique. The hairdos, hats, and flowers are applied to each wet clay head. The heads are high-fired at 2,000 degrees. After several china painting firings at 1,200 degrees, the porcelain parts are assembled on a wooden and wire armature body. The doll is then costumed to appropriately match the hairdo. Betty Curtis lived in Calais, Maine. It's about as far north as you can get in the United States. Betty loved the fashion and way of life in her grandparents' day and age. To portray the people of the 1880s in New England, she used her own special paper clay formula. She poured it into plaster molds to make the heads. This material enabled her to use German-blown glass eyes and oil paint colors. In this way, she could create the characters she wanted. This scene is called the parlor meeting. Betty Curtis created many group scenes, which portrayed the family life of the people living in Maine during the 1880s. She meticulously dressed her dolls in fine fabrics in the fashion of the times. Betty Wee Paulson is a 1968 member and 4th president of NIADA. Her We Did It's became well known. They were created in felt on a wire armature, and no 2 dolls are exactly alike. Betty Wee Paulson is shown here at one of her mini doll talks. Her doll collection featured 1 doll from each artist. She worked hard to interest doll collectors in American doll artist dolls. The NIADA artists are deeply indebted to the NIADA patrons, who have supported them over the years. This is Wee Paulson's portrait of Mr. and Mrs. Bernard Kaufman and their grandchildren. The Kaufman family were outstanding patrons of NIADA in the early years. A patron who helped showcase American doll artists to many doll collectors was Elizabeth Andrews Fisher. She was editor of the magazine The Toy Trader. In 1957, Elizabeth began a series of 9 doll artist monographs by Helen Bullard. Most of these artists became the charter members of NIADA. Honorary NIADA patron Fidelia Lence was president of the United Federation of Doll Clubs from 1971 to 1973. During her term of office, she included many NIADA programs at the UFDC annual conventions. NIADA patrons Iva Rossi and Patty Rossi Wirtz owned the Dolly Deer Doll Clinic in Davenport, Iowa. This mother and daughter team gave many doll-related programs at doll clubs, NIADA, and UFDC. They have a large collection of doll artist dolls. The lady with the bright white UFDC badge is 1968 NIADA artist member Diana Lence Crosby. Diana has faithfully attended 36 NIADA conferences. NIADA patron Elizabeth Pierce is dressed as the UFDC emblem, Miss Unity. Elizabeth has given many artist doll programs and has a large and wonderful collection of doll artist dolls. Next to her is honorary patron Leona Peterson. She is a member of the New York Doll and Toy Club. Leona was NIADA's corresponding secretary throughout the early years. In the white blouse is NIADA patron Betty Hodges. Betty has been a photographer for NIADA. She has taken many fine pictures at NIADA events. She has archived these pictures for easy access for use in NIADA newsletters and advertising. Along with Betty in the picture is Elizabeth Brandon. She is a 1979 NIADA artist member. Elizabeth, with her husband, have faithfully attended the NIADA conferences. It is because of the wonderful work and dedication of our NIADA patrons that NIADA has become a strong and confident organization. NIADA has been able to hold its 5-day conference wherever it chooses. Helen Bullard always wanted to hold a gallery night. In 1993, at the Atlanta, Georgia NIADA conference, with the help of Robert Tonner and many artists and patrons, NIADA held its first annual gallery night. One-of-a-kind dolls like NIADA artist Antoinette Seeley's fine fabric portrait of Josephine Baker were on display. Antoinette Seeley is NIADA's president from 2005 to 2007. Susanna O'Ryan of Eugene, Oregon, is a 1982 member and the 11th president of NIADA. Susanna's dolls are created in paper clay, which is a very popular medium today. She's shown here with her doll, the 86 Empress Solar Wind. Susanna has written contemporary and educational doll artist books. She has included many NIADA artists and their dolls. Elizabeth Brandon, with her husband Berkeley, and sons Jay and Scott's wife Liz, have also helped NIADA. Elizabeth has also enjoyed gallery nights. She's a 1979 member and lives in Mission, Kansas. Elizabeth works her magic in porcelain. She has brought creating porcelain dolls to a fine artistic level. This doll has an all-articulating porcelain body. The doll is named Fortuna. Each NIADA artist who attends the conference can display their one-of-a-kind doll on opening night. The dolls are displayed in the hotel ballroom on black velvet pedestals. Each doll has a ceiling spotlight to bring the doll into the limelight. Margaret Finch is a 1976 NIADA artist member and NIADA president from 1983 to 1985. Collaborating with her daughter, Marta Finch Kozlowski, a NIADA artist member in 1981, this 16-inch portrait of Sophie de Mornay was created for Gallery Night in Anaheim, California in 1997. She's a Southern belle walking on the seashore of Savannah, Georgia at the time of the Revolutionary War. Mirren Berry is a 1970 member. She was our NIADA treasurer for 25 years. Mirren kept meticulous records and helped NIADA stay within its budget throughout the early years. She was also the 10th president. This doll is named Diana. She used the letters in NIADA. Mirren created 200 complete dolls. They were given as a surprise souvenir at the Boston, Massachusetts NIADA Conference banquet in 1988. Faith Wick is a 1976 member. She lives in Columbus, Ohio. Her mediums are polyform and porcelain. Faith has been an artist designer for several large companies. She created this one-of-a-kind NIADA doll using porcelain. This doll is named a toy peddler. A Kiss in the Mirror was created by NIADA artist Antoinette Seeley. It was of interest to patron Richard Simmons. Richard has a program on TV which features body and fitness and healthy dieting. Floyd Bell is a 1992 artist member. Floyd uses many types of fine wood to hand carve his one-of-a-kind dolls. This doll is a portrait of the songstress Ella Fitzgerald. Catherine Wamsley is a 1997 NIADA artist member. She was NIADA's president from 2003 to 2005. Catherine works in polyform clays and fine fabrics. For gallery night, she created this pair of dolls named Leaving It to the Clowns. Akira Blount of Bybee, Tennessee, displays this doll named A Jester with a Candy Cane Hoop. He's created from fine fabric and is 24 inches tall. Akira is NIADA's 14th president. Judith Condon's all-porcelain 18-inch clown has an all-articulating porcelain body. His name is Ski with a Smile. Judith lives in Jacksonville, Florida, and is NIADA's 4th president. Jane Davies is one of NIADA's international members. She lives in West Sussex, England. She is the 2001-2003 NIADA president. Jane creates miniature dolls in porcelain. Many of her dolls are less than 6 inches tall. This piece is named A Child Riding on a Swan. Patty Hale lives in Vista, California, and is a 1978 member. She hand carves her dolls from several different kinds of wood. Patty's Japanese girl is 13 inches tall. Diana Lence Crosby lives in Griffith, Georgia, and is a 1968 member. Diana works in porcelain. This doll's hairdo, straw hat, and flowers are all created in applied porcelain, using a lace draping technique. Diana's doll is named A Shepherdess of the Flowers. She's 20 inches tall. June Lunsford Goodnow lives in Oklahoma and is a 1976 member. Her dolls are created with Sculpey. June's doll is named Medicine Woman. June was the first member to see the advantages of the computer for NIADA members. She gave a program on computer know-how and ushered us into the computer age. Martha Armstrong Han lives in California and is a 1977 member. She creates beautiful portraits of children and storybook characters in porcelain. This doll is Hannah. In 1997, 30 artist members of NIADA dressed 20-inch Robert Tonner fashion dolls. The theme was called Transformed Tonners. The dolls were auctioned on eBay and the money was given to charity. Robert Tonner was NIADA's president from 1995 to 1997. In 1992, the book, The Art of the Doll, was printed. It featured the contemporary work of NIADA artists with beautiful, colorful pictures. On the cover is a porcelain doll by Helen Kish. She lives in Littleton, Colorado, and is a 1981 member. Helen Kish is NIADA's 12th president. Helen Bullard had a vision for the National Institute of American Doll Artists. It was the recognition of American doll artists, and many doll artists and doll collectors are glad she did. We hope you've enjoyed this version of NIADA, the early years, brought to you by the United Federation of Doll Clubs.